Good evening and welcome to the program. This is Business and Enterprise and I'm your host, Chisenga Mumba. Today we talk about opportunities for success for people who are working outside of Zambia, and I'm talking about Zambian people that are succeeding elsewhere. But before we do that, we are again on the Copper Belt, where we profile a lady who's directly benefited from the Business Linkages program being run by ZDA, ILO, and other relevant partners. Take a look at Janet Chondoka's story.
Business and enterprise is once again on the vibrant Copperbelt province. We turn our attention to a lady who's directly tapped into the Business Linkages program in order to become successful. Janet Chondoka successfully supplies an average of 1,000 quails at a time to major chain stores such as Pick and Pay and Ndola. To see her today, it's almost unimaginable that some of these structures she set up today started with nothing but a dream and 100 undersized quails.
I worked for ZCCM for 20 years, and then I was retrenched in 1999. Then I went into business. I had an internet cafe in Ndola for 4 or 5 years. I operated, then closed it, came back to Kitwe. We were just commuting that time. I've done a lot of things actually. Even when I was working, I was doing tailoring at home. I was selling all sorts of things. I belong to the business association, Kitwe District Business Association, but the agriculture part is Mikos. So we had a meeting in Ndola with, they asked us to attend this meeting to find out what the challenges are for the small-scale entrepreneurs. In particular, the farmers. Our problem was the chain shops. They were not able to get products from the locals.
Janet once worked for ZCCM, and since leaving there, she initially started by setting up an internet cafe, which was an area she was quite familiar with after having worked as a secretary. She never imagined she would be in the trade she's in today.
The major concern was with the farmers, their products. They were not able to access the markets of the chain shops. So the then Minister of Commerce asked the director of ZDA what the problem was. Then he also explained that the problem they had with the Zambian farmers is sometimes the quality, the quantities, to meet the specifications of the chain shops. So they challenged us, if you have a product, you meet the specification, come to us. Then we'll link you. There's the Business Linkages program. Yes, that time I only had 100 quails in my garage. I think 2 weeks later, I went to Mr. Melo's office. I said, I have quails. Can I supply to ShopRite or Pick and Pay? That time Pick and Pay was just coming into Ndola. Then he said, go and look at a pack of quails in ShopRite, compare with what you can offer. So I went into ShopRite, and then I found it was nicely packed, and then I hadn't even thought about packaging, and then the size, scared me. My quails were small. So I came back home. I said, this could be a good business, but what do I need to do? So I went back to Mr. Melo. I said, now if I do 1, 2, 3 things you've asked me, are you able to link me? He said, yes.
Janet also has a passion for landscaping, which ties in well with her quail business, as the manure from the quail serves as compost for the plants that she incorporates in her landscaping trade.
It's not a long time ago I started supplying, but I think it's somewhere better than I could have been without the quails. And besides, the quails have also improved my business for plants, landscaping, because the byproduct, I use it onto the quails. This has reduced on the cost of fertilizer.
Clearly, There are real benefits to being alert for information that will enable any entrepreneur become a success. We wish Janet Kanyika Chondoka and the BPC Abundant Valley team all the best.
We're very happy for you, Ms. Chondoka, and thank you very much for allowing us with our cameras on your premises. Mr. Matoka, I know, is also proud of you as well. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Senga, and good evening, viewers.
Okay. So it was nice to be with Janet.
Yes, indeed, Senga, and we thought perhaps we should continue with the pattern that we used last week. I'm going to base my tips this evening on the story of Mrs. Janet Chondoka. It was, again, a very, very amazing experience to see what she has done and to be able to get where she is. Now, Senga, when you look at the story that we have just watched, the profile of Mrs. Janet Chondoka, there are, again, a number of entrepreneurial characteristics that come out of that particular profile or story. First and foremost, this is a woman, Senga, who has never gotten any loan. Most of the entrepreneurs out there always complain of failing to grow because they cannot get a loan. They complain of this and that, they go to the banks and they're not able to get any loans, so they submit to hopelessness and helplessness. But this is a lady there, Madam Chondoka, who decides to start small. She starts with 100 quails and now she's doing close to 2,000 quails. That is as it should be. So tip number one for the entrepreneurs who are watching this particular program, please, even when we fail to get a loan, like we have said on this program before, let us learn to use our own resources. Let us start small. We should not be in a hurry to start big, because when we try to start big, we may get frustrated, or you may be forced to do things that will allow the law to visit you. So we want you to avoid that as much as possible. If you can't get a loan, start small. As long as you are disciplined, you will be able to plow back your little profits and your business will grow. That is one thing that comes out of Mrs. Chondoka's story. She started small, she never got a loan. Closely related to that is the issue of financial discipline, which we keep singing about on this particular program. A number of you entrepreneurs watching this program can actually grow to greater heights in your businesses if you exercised financial discipline. In this woman, Madam Chondoka, we see a lot of that financial discipline. When we visited her premises, we were able to inspect her books. We were able to find out how she was able to grow to where she is now without getting a loan. And the key thing that comes out of her story is that she has been financially disciplined. You should be disciplined. We have said before in this program, make sure that you treat your business as your employer and ensure that you treat it, cautiously and jealously. That way you will grow. So financial discipline is very, very key. Senga, another attribute that we see in this particular woman is the issue of information seeking. She is an information seeker. She head of this organization called Zambia Development Agency, like Senga said in the introductory remarks. So she decides to find out what this business linkages program is all about. So she goes to our regional office in Kitwe and she's linked through the business linkages program. She's linked to Pick and Pay. Now she supplies Pick and Pay with her quails and doing very, very well. That is as it should be. So people should be information seekers. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, find out what is going on in your own country. I keep saying on this program, there are entrepreneurs coming from miles and miles or thousands and thousands of kilometers coming to invest in our own country. They have seen investment opportunities in our own country because they are information seekers. We ourselves as Zambians just wait for these foreigners to come, invest or start a business, then we start queuing up for jobs. No, let us also be information seekers. Let us open our eyes, let us open our ears and get as much information as possible and use that information to do business. That's what we see in Madam Chondoka. Again, another attribute that we see in her, Senga, which we would like our entrepreneurs to emulate, is the issue of aggressive marketing. This is a woman who will go around with samples from place to place, samples of her products, in this particular case, quails, asking for business. That is as it should be. Don't wait for customers to come your way. Go out there. Remember, you are not the only entrepreneur. There are so many other people who are selling what you are probably selling. So if you just sit and wait for customers, you may not get as many customers. And that way you will not be able to grow your business. Go out there, be aggressive. Go with the samples, and then customers will know. Even potential customers, those that were not buying from you, will learn about your business and do business with you. And that is what she demonstrated in her story. She does that. Apart from supplying to Pick and Pay, she goes around to households. When there is a kitchen party, she says she goes there with the samples and asks those women to organize. She goes to restaurants and entices them to buy the quails for their patrons. That is as it should be. You must be aggressive. We are in a competitive world, and only only aggressive entrepreneurs will succeed in this competitive world. And then, Mrs. Chondoka is a widow, Chisenga. Again, to use my favorite term, she did not submit to hopelessness and helplessness when the husband died. Her husband was a lecturer at the Copperbelt University, and I'm sure they must have been leading a very comfortable life. But after the husband dies, she says, I'll move on. I will need to struggle. So the death of her husband triggers that survival instinct in her. So perseverance is very, very key. Even when you have a serious challenge, don't give up, dear entrepreneurs. That is what we see in the story of Madam Chondoka. And then another attribute that I see in her is the issue of wanting to continuously improve her business. When we visited her premises, you could see that now she even makes her own feed. Okay? That is a way of improving or cutting down on your costs. She went for training, learned how to prepare feed for the quails, which she now prepares. So she has cut off that aspect of buying feed from others. That is as it should be. So as entrepreneurs, if we want to grow, let us engage on continuous improvement. Let us keep checking the various facets of our business. Where can we improve? That is very key, Chisenga. Then, of course, we see in her the aspect of planning. She says she does not do anything without planning. Before she embarks on any particular business activity or transaction, she will sit down and plan. That is very, very key. If you want to succeed in life, you need to plan. I have already talked about the issue of financial discipline, which this woman is exhibiting. Now, she's telling us in that profile that she wants to set up her own abattoir. I'm sure I remember that saying. She said she wanted to set up her own abattoir, and that will come from her own resources. It shows that she has this appetite of wanting to plow back her little profits and reinvest. That is key, dear entrepreneurs. If we are going to grow our businesses, let us plow back and identify areas which are key where we can invest our resources. I have 3 more before we conclude that I was able to identify. The issue of consulting. She consults widely. She goes to experts at the Ministry of Agriculture for information on how to handle these quails. She goes to other people that are already doing quail business to learn more on what they're doing. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, develop this habit of consulting. It's very, very key, and I think we've talked about it before. And then, of course, hard work. She wakes up very, very early, makes sure that she does her household chores, and then goes to do the business, which is within her premises. That is as it should be. Hard work is key. We see women waking up 04, 05 to go and line up at strategic places like Soweto Market here in Lusaka or Chimwemu Market in Kitwe to get goodies of vegetables, fruits to go and resell. If they wake up at 07, they will find all the goodies taken. So hard work is key, dear entrepreneurs, if you want to succeed. And then the final attribute that I saw in her, Chisenga, is the fact that she is always interested in getting customer feedback. She says she will go to Pick and Pay and find out where do I need to improve in terms of the product that I'm supplying. She will go to other people that buy her products to get feedback. And based on that feedback, she's able to make, she's able to take corrective measures. That is as it should be. And we want to encourage you, the entrepreneurs watching this program, to emulate the likes of Janet Chondoka. We can develop this country, we keep saying on this program, if we have people who think and behave like Janet Chondoka and the other people that we have featured on this program. So please go for it. A lot of opportunities await people that are prepared to work hard.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matoka.
My pleasure.
So Mr. Windu Matoka is our entrepreneurial consultant on this program and would like to mentor you. He would like to mentor you wherever you may be, Mansa, Chipata, Mongu. We want to come with our cameras, first of all, see what you've done and give you mentorship as to how you can grow further and use these stories to inspire others. So this is Business and Enterprise. Just now we take a look at prices of stock on the Lusaka Stock Exchange market. We're talking now about prospects for success within and outside the country. And I like that we have a young person to talk some more about this. I'm privileged to be joined by Mawano Kambeo, who is Manager Investment Sales and Marketing for Prudential Financial, as well as, well, the.com Zambia. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Not a lot of young people will get the opportunity to go over to the US or to the UK. I know that it's a dream for some people, but for others, it may not necessarily be attainable. Talk about the prospects for employment, prospects for entrepreneurship within the country, as somebody who's practiced business within Zambia before you took off.
Yeah, I mean, either way, no matter what country you're in, whether it's the US, whether it's in Zambia, it is a bit of a struggle. And I don't want to, to be here and preach and say, hey, everything can be done. I had to work very, very hard to get to where I am. Even with .com Zambia, it took 6 years in the making, 3 years of banging down doors, working till 3 o'clock in the morning. But I think the important things that I learned was, one, I think you have to be very determined, you have to be very strategic, and you just have to really to train yourself as well. There are a lot of errors that I made along the way. There are a lot of failed businesses that I tried, and part of why I went into business, I think it's really the challenge of many youths. I graduated from school in Kitwe. I didn't really know what to do with myself. And I knew I was very creative. I had all of these ideas, and I tried to start many of those ideas. But you talk to any entrepreneur, they'll tell you about times where they had failed, and I am no different. But after a while, and I think with the help of many people who taught me many skills, I got better and better. So the prospects are definitely there. A lot of opportunities, and that's why I'm really involved in entrepreneurship in Zambia and trying to build my own business.
We look to the government a whole lot as a facilitator, and obviously we have certain expectations of them in order to ensure that we succeed as young people, or even anybody involved in entrepreneurship and in business. But could you talk maybe about the role of the private sector in business?
I think it comes to understanding what the private sector is looking for. So I work in the investment side in the US. We look at investments, and what are we ultimately there to do? Make money. So I think part of the private sector's obligation is to really create an open door, or at least say to the entrepreneurship community or to aspiring business people, this is what we're looking for, and being able to communicate that, and in some cases assist in trying to get entrepreneurs to the level, because at the end of the day, if an entrepreneur has an idea, the private sector will jump on that. If it's a good idea, the private sector will jump on that purely for the purposes of making money. Now, there are a lot of benefits to that whole process. What happens when an entrepreneur comes up with a good idea and the private sector comes in? It creates jobs, it creates services. There are ancillary businesses. So it's really a cycle. And I think we have to come up with a way for all of those sectors to actually come together and work unanimously. But I think it's part of us, I think, as entrepreneurs, understanding what the private sector does and how we can actually tap into that market. But it's not about going in and asking for a handout. I think to your earlier comment, go in with value. Show them what you can do. Whether you're explaining that my process can improve your profits, maybe I can, you have this process, it costs you this much, I can come in, do it just as well, but I can bring your costs down to here. And you have to be able to go in and actually explain that value and then go out and create it. So we really need that sort of environment happening right now.
So what are the tools of the trade that actually guarantee success? Besides the mindset, let's talk about practical tools of the trade that we want to learn from you.
Well, I think as an entrepreneur, when I started my business.com Zambia, it was me alone. And believe me, I would actually go to work. I would leave work at 17 hours. I'd go to school until 22 hours. I would then work until 3 in the morning, sleep again for a couple of hours and start again. And for years, I did that, year in and year out, knocking one door at a time, getting one customer at a time. And what I'd found is with an entrepreneur, there's what you call suffering in silence. And the reason I call it suffering in silence is because you have to be the jack of all trades. I was the accountant, the sales and marketing department. I was the shipping manager. I was the office cleaner, everything all in one. And so you do struggle with that. And there's no one who's good at everything. And there were certain areas that I was very weak at. For example, I'm not much of an operations guy. But you know what? I had to go to people who were good at operations, and they would actually mentor me. And I think we need more of that. We need people who are leaders in the community to actually take young people and mentor them and show them the ropes that this is what you need to do to improve. Because even now, yes, I'm better at certain things, but there's still room for improvement. And I still have mentors who continue to advise me. So right now, our company is in the process of trying to raise some money in the private market. I don't really know the in and outs of that, but I do have fortunate mentors here in Zambia that are sitting down with me, and they're telling me that, young man, these are the, the steps you need to take. These are the things you need to, and I'm getting better at that. And that has been a characteristic of, of my, of some of the struggles I had to deal with. Now, when I started to get employees, the first person that I hired was actually someone who could do the operations, something that I was weak at but could do adequately. So you definitely do have to be a jacker, and you have to be coachable. And those are some of the skills, and you have to be determined. Like in my case, working all the time, weekend, I was never at a nightclub. I was either sleeping or working. And part of it was I started off very, very poor. Even where, in the U.S. and even here, and I had to build it one step at a time. And I had to know that I had to keep going. I had to keep pushing and not lose my focus and not lose my discipline. So you definitely need that. And when you incur setback, which we all do, everybody does, you have to learn how to pick yourself up. Mute the negative, concept, because people would come to me, how can a tech company work in Zambia? How can you do internet things on Zambia? Who would do, So I had to really put those aside, focus on what I was trying to do, get good feedback, have good mentors, and that's how I got to where I am today.
The work attitude in Zambia, let's face it, is a bit different from the way it is in other countries. Here, ordinarily, a lot of people tend to expect the government to do everything for them, whereas in countries like the UK or Nigeria or in the US, work attitude is a bit different. You're going to have to get out there and actually make a mark for yourself. So with those conditions, how does a person like you, break into that market and actually succeed?
Well, I think, there's a saying that if I don't do it, then who will? So yes, I've picked up certain philosophies because of the fact that I'm in the US, and part of those philosophies I'm trying to transfer to the staff that I have here in Zambia. So I come in, I'm very casual. I don't like rank in my organization. So I'll come in with shorts and t-shirts, and I want them to challenge me on ideas, not just say, oh, because the boss said this, we have to run with it. So I think it starts with, with the individual. We have to do it one step at a time, because I think I agree with you. There are, in being a hire, I get a lot of people coming to me and saying, I want a job. And I turn around and I ask them, okay, well, what job do you want? Oh, well, just any job. Well, how can I give you a job if you can't explain what you can do for my organization and how I can reward you for the work that you want to do? It doesn't work like that. So, and eventually, I found great employees who respond to that, who actually tell me exactly that if I join you, this is what I will do for you. This is what I want to bring to the table. And as a, as a hirer, I then ask them, what would you like from this organization? Is it, do you want to make more money? Because I want to make sure that I give you an environment where your dreams, where everything you want to achieve will actually come to fruition. And I think those are sort of cultural changes that I've picked up, and I'm saying, well, how can I apply that? Because I've seen that a happy organization is a better organization. But it does step, and it's happening across the country. Maybe we're not hearing about it as much, but I think we will eventually get there. I think we just need to, to move away from that type of business day-to-day activity. But I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
What about receptivity towards online shopping? A lot of Zambians doing that. Have you seen?
It was very difficult. Believe me, we had challenges. Even this notion of, well, where are they located? And people don't even know. Well, what if we pay money? Are we actually going to see them? Oh, we hear about internet scams. But as part of an entrepreneur, I had to recognize that that was a challenge. So I had to say, well, what am I going to do differently to, to appease those clients who have that skepticism? So one of the things that we did is we built, we opened up a pick and pay location. So that's where the items come once they're processed. They come to a pick and pay location here in Lusaka. So you can meet our staff. You can meet me. So that way it's not just some imaginary people behind the scenes. But that's basically looking at the Zambian market and saying that if I want to build an internet company, this is how I need to do it. When it comes to payment solutions, they don't have credit cards, so we had to come up with different ways that our clients could actually pay us. And then in terms of trusting us as well, we had to say, okay, well, give us a deposit to just start the transaction, a small one. We would do our part. We would deliver. When we say we're going to deliver, we're going to charge you the price that we've committed to, and we'll do our part. And when we do, you come do your part as well. And that is how we went from 1 client to 2 clients to 3 clients to quite a few clients today. And but we still have work to do, so we'll continue working at it.
Fantastic. Mawano, I want to say best of luck to you, and thank you for obliging us this interview.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Okay. So as you heard from Mawano, he was very, very practical in providing tips and also giving us his perspective with regard to prospects for success, not just within Zambia, but also outside the country. us again next week at the same time. We look forward to hearing from you via email. Bye-bye.